guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Parent Tried to Fight Me and Got Stranded in a Random State. I told this story to one of my friends who watches Reddit stories on TikTok and she said I should post it, so here I am. On mobile and really don't know crap about grammar. I, at the time 19F, was homeless at the time. I was legitimately sleeping under a bridge when I met a guy, 30 meters, who told me he had a place to stay but we would have to take a 4-day bus ride to it. BCI was in Texas and the place was in Nevada. The day before the trip I started feeling awful, puking, fever, etc. Then being on Greyhound wasn't helping at all. So the entire trip I felt like crap. This lady got on the bus with her 2 young children and 1 teen on the second day. Immediately when she got on the bus she got on her phone to play Candy Crush and the 2 young children didn't even sit down for a second. For 2 of the 4 days these kids ran up and down the aisle of the bus, waking passengers at night, banging the bathroom door and broke the lock on it, interrupting people in the bathroom, and so much more. On the 3rd day we stopped at a McDonald's for lunch in Arizona. I think I wasn't paying attention, I was that ill. As I was walking with my food to my BF, X now. One of the kids who was, as I am sure you guessed, running around the store ran into me and my fed up ass said, "Move kid." And that was it. I didn't touch the child, I didn't knock him over, I didn't yell, just growled kinda. That's it. We get on the bus and this big lady, not trying to fat shame, it's relevant, BCI was a bit smaller than her and scared, who has been on her phone the whole time, comes storming up to me and says in a loud tone, "Did you shove my child and yell at him?" Me, still feeling like crap and not wanting to take crap from anyone, said, "I did tell horrible brat to move but I did not touch him." She said, "If you have a problem with my child come to me about it." Me, why would I do that? You haven't been watching them this whole time, instead on phone. The bus starts moving and everyone is asked to sit down and her teen grabs her hand and says, "It's not worth it" or something, I don't remember, this was 2019. Next time come to me if you have a problem. She sits down, I turn to my BF and say, if she knew how to be a parent we wouldn't have this problem. What did you say about black people? I'm mixed and obviously have black in me. Me, I didn't say crap about black people, I said if you knew how to parent kids would be behaved. She gets up and storms to me ready to pounce and the bus starts saying stuff to her about sitting down and to stop being difficult. That's all I made out. BC, everyone was talking. Her teen says, "Mom, just stop, we can talk to someone at the next stop." We get to the Greyhound station in Arizona and this lady immediately goes up to a ticket counter and demands I be removed for assaulting her child. Everyone heard her. A few of the other people who were on the bus are in the line too, and I think, I'm going to be stranded in Arizona. I have never even been outside of my town, much less my state. And I started crying. Then I see this lady yelling that they can't kick her off the bus. Where are her and her kids supposed to go? And I didn't know what happened until another passenger who was in that line tells me that the bus driver had her banned from his bus for destruction of property, broken bathroom door, and terrorizing the other passengers. I'm not sure if she was allowed back in Greyhound, but that specific trip she couldn't get on. BTW, it's actually pretty good she wasn't back on that bus. BC, one of the passengers was actually a pedo and if he decided to take her child or children she would never have known. This was all before COVID and I just had a stomach bug. I was sick for a week though. BC, the difference between Texas and Nevada weather was so drastic it didn't help. The next story is titled Anyone Else Have a Friend That Always Asks Them for Money? Long story short, I have a long-term friend, 15 years. He calls me usually when he wants to ask to borrow money. The conversation usually starts with him blaming things like the pawn shop selling his PC because he didn't pay the money back and blaming all sorts of normal life events for his pitiful financial decisions. Like he once began a journey that was a 200-mile round trip while his fuel tank was near empty and he had no money for fuel, leaving me to drive 60 miles to bring him fuel to get him back. Trip was obviously not completed. I've started telling him no for whatever reason I want at the time, so he's changing up his tactics and asks questions like, "How much do you earn? What do you pay for XYZ bills?" Then says, "Can I borrow £50? And I still say no, because I'll never get it back and he will just go buy weed with it more than likely. Once he came to my house saying he hadn't eaten in days. I had no food in but I had £10 to my name, few days before payday. So I offered to buy him food from the chippy. I got a bag of chips, he ordered a large kebab chips and a can of pop. Then his brother called and asked where he was. I told him and he said, "WTF, we've made him a roast dinner he knows is supposed to be here." My piss completely boiled. He was fully aware he was supposed to be at his brother's for a full roast dinner but chose to spend the last of my money on a kebab he wanted. My question is, would I be wrong to simply say, "None of your business," the next time he starts asking prying questions? I don't want to be rude but I've had so many conversations with him about how he's a bum and a parasite to everyone around him but he just sort of agrees then goes straight back to it. I'm far from the only one he does this crap with, he does it with everyone in his life. It appears he just views people as ways he can get things. The next story is titled Calling My Transphobic Boss by a Name She Hates. The story. I used to work for a fast food company that is pretty popular in Canada and is known for its burgers during my last year of high school and some of my friends worked there. One of my really close friends happened to be trans and after a while she decided she wanted to be out publicly, so she told a lot of people like her teachers and some fewer close friends who didn't know, one of these people being our manager. Now our manager was around 60-ish, not the nicest person as she was stuck in old ways and attitudes. After my friend told our manager she was trans and that she will be going by preferred name now and is no longer dead name and asked if it could be changed in the system because she didn't want to see her dead name on the order screens. Our manager just kind of laughed and said it was out of her control to change the names, it wasn't. Our manager also refused to use her preferred name when talking to her and kept misgendering her. Now the revenge. Our manager went by her middle name and not her legal first name as she hated her first name. After 6 months of working there I got sick of all her drama and transphobia, so I put in my 2 weeks by leaving a formally written letter on her desk addressed to her first name. Also, for added revenge I quit when she was really short-staffed because half of her staff quit or got fired around the same time because of her. The next story is titled Am I the A-hole for telling my neighbor to stop using my driveway? For some context, we live in a city where some houses share driveways and most houses are 2 families, apartment upstairs and apartment downstairs. We own a 2-family house and there's another one next door where their front door for the upstairs apartment is next to our driveway. But they do have their own driveway. We have owned the house for 2 years now, but my husband has lived here his whole life. He says they've been using our driveway to park for a few minutes or to unload their groceries or have their users park in the driveway and have their food delivery drivers park in the driveway for years and it's always annoyed him, but he didn't own the house then, so he never said anything. Now that he does, we've asked them on multiple occasions to stop using our driveway to a point we started putting a cone at the end of our driveway. Here's where the problem started. About 2 weeks ago I am making the bed and look over to the TV to see that there is someone parked in our driveway and our cone is moved to in front of our car. We park in the back of the driveway, it's the length of the house. So, I go out there and see the car is turned off and there is no one around. I go up to their front door and shout up their stairs to tell them to move their car and they have to stop using my driveway and that I've told them multiple times. They have their own driveway, use it and to stop using ours. They started yelling that it was just for a few minutes blah blah blah. I told them I don't care. It's not your property and to stop doing it. Now a few days ago my husband wasn't home, and the cone was at the end of the driveway. I walk over to the window and see they've moved the cone again and parked in our driveway to drop stuff off. I went out there and said they stop using our ducking driveway. I don't know how many times I have to tell you, but do it again and I will contact your landlord and have your car towed. They stared yelling at me that who cares, it's just a driveway. I told them when they start paying my property taxes, they can use it and when they own their own house, they'll understand why it's so annoying to have people doing this. They moved their car while screaming out the window how miserable I am, and I just kept saying thank you and walked inside. But because I wouldn't let them continue yelling and kept saying thank you, they got out of their car and started to walk up to my house to fight me and I just continued to walk inside. Am I the a-hole here? Should I just let this go or stick to my guns? Comment said I can't believe they'd rather get out of their car, move your cone, get back in the car, and park in your driveway instead of just using their own. I live in a duplex, side by side, and we literally share a driveway. There's no separation except common sense. I park on my half, you park on your half. And we've never had a problem. Not the a-hole. Another comment said not the a-hole. I live in a city where driveways are pretty rare. To me it's extremely weird that they're going to yell and curse at you because they can't use your property to do something unnecessary but more convenient for them. Maybe if they needed to help someone with mobility issues out of the car for 5 minutes once in a while I'd understand it, like grandma coming to visit or something. But they want to unload their groceries or be closer to their door just because they feel like it. Too bad. Start not saying anything and just have them towed. The next story is titled I Write Bad Reviews for My Old Job on Fake Accounts. I worked for this company for a year. I was studying the whole time and made it clear that I will be leaving at any moment to a new job once I graduated. They were 100% okay with that and even offered to be my reference for the new job. So here comes the new job. My old job refused to be my reference because they were being petty that I was leaving. I ended up quitting and getting the new job without their help. My old job didn't invite me to their Xmas party even though they said they would. They have been bad-mouthing me to everyone as well. So, I did what I do best. I made multiple fake accounts and wrote bad reviews under their company. I know it's petty, but I almost didn't get my new job because of them. They'd rather I struggle. So now they can too. The next story is titled Merry Christmas to Everyone Except the Lady Who Refused to Evacuate the Building During an Emergency. The winter storm has been pretty crazy, we all know that. The interstate was closed due to a multi-vehicle accident, and dozens of semi-trucks had to travel on the main road. It took an hour to reach places you'd normally be able to reach in 15 minutes. People were cranky and stranded, so it was fairly busy last night. My shift was about to end at 11 o'clock that night, and things had finally settled down a bit. I was briefing my coworker on what he needed to know before I left when suddenly our emergency alarms all started going off. My immediate thought was that someone was smoking in their room and set off the trouble alarm. Unfortunately, that was not the case. The information screen on our alarm box told me that the sprinkler system had overloaded, and as I looked out into the entryway, I see water pouring down from the ceiling. Crap. And it was coming down fast. In less than a minute, water was seeping through the walls and into the office. I ran to the phone and dialed 911 and told them what was happening. They sent out the fire department and told me that I needed to evacuate the building and keep people away from the water and elevator. I tried calling both of my managers multiple times but with no success. Left a frantic voicemail for each of them, and I was getting pissed that I couldn't get a hold of them. I instructed my coworker to get up to the second and third floors to start evacuating people. Meanwhile, there's now a crowd in the lobby and people are sticking their heads out of their rooms to see what's going on. What probably annoyed me most about the whole situation was the people who were standing in the water near the entryway and taking pictures. Get away from the ducking entryway, you idiots. Stop taking pictures and leave like I told you to. By now there was a few inches of water in the office, lobby, entryway, and hallway. I was sloshing through it with soaked socks and shoes. I went down the hallway and told people they needed to evacuate at the advisement of the fire department. And this one lady, standing in the doorway of her room with her arms crossed. She got snotty and said, "I'm not going anywhere." I told her that she had to leave. She said no. I told her she'd be put on the DNR list. She said, "I don't care, if the building isn't burning down then I'm not leaving. This is, name of town, nothing's going to happen. And I paid for this room so I'm staying here." At this point I was so pissed off. How entitled do you have to be? There was a handful of people watching this go down. The alarm was blaring. I'm standing in inches of cold water. The fire department still wasn't there yet because the roads were so bad, and this idiot was being snotty about evacuating. I couldn't help myself. I deadass looked at this woman and yelled, "I don't give a duck what you think." And she stepped back into her room and slammed her door shut. I made the crowd get out. Like I know it's cold and windy outside you guys. I'm sorry, I empathize, but there's wiring and outlets and other electrical stuff that's exposed to water right now and I have a legal obligation to manage risk and evacuate the building in the event of an emergency. I told them the fire department was on the way. And let me be clear, the alarm system told me the sprinklers overloaded. It didn't indicate a fire. But electrical components were being submerged and I had no idea what was going on inside the ceilings and walls that caused the overload in the first place. My manager wants guests to evacuate in an emergency, and the emergency operator advised the same. I finally got a hold of the general manager and told him what was going on, so he was on his way there to help. The fire department finally arrived, checked out the building, looked at the sprinklers, and shut off the main water system until they could find the specific problem and shut-off point. They told me that a pipe burst above the entryway and that's what caused the overload alarm and flooding. I'm guessing it burst because of the cold. They shut off the sprinkler system and then turned the main water back on. They gave me further instructions and said I could let people back in now and then left just as my manager arrived. My manager walked into the office, and I told him right away, "Look, I'm just gonna tell you right now I told a lady that I didn't give a duck what she thought because she refused to leave the building. Fire me if you must." He did not fire me. And I'm not sure if that lady complained when she checked out this morning, but I guess I'll find out when I go back into work today. Last night was crazy trying to get the alarm company on the phone, cleanup services, and someone to fix the sprinkler because we couldn't operate without a working sprinkler system. Though short term we could as long as someone was constantly patrolling the hallways for fires and the information was disclosed to any incoming guests. But yeah, imagine being so snotty and entitled that you refuse to evacuate the building in the event of an emergency at the instruction of an employee. No less because you paid for the room and, damn it, you'll stay in that room if you want to. I mean, what would she have done if there actually was a fire? Hang out in her $100 room as the building burned down and her along with it? $100 isn't exactly the monetary rate at which you'd be willing to go down with the ship. So, Merry Christmas to everyone except that woman. The next story is titled "A Prepaid Non-Refundable Reservation is Really Non-Refundable? Happy Holidays." Last post was removed due to not having enough text, so I will elaborate. I currently had a guest just ask if a prepaid non-refundable reservation really was non-refundable. Currently, it's Christmas in South Florida with delightful weather. Currently, I am also the only reservation agent on duty in an empty office as all executives get to stay home with their own families. Anyway, there is a nasty winter storm that has been affecting parts of the USA which has resulted in many flight cancellations. My boss had told me we are strictly adhering to the prepaid non-refundable reservation policies, even for bookings that were booked through us. So I have been enforcing that policy today. I have had 8 same-day cancellation requests for prepaid reservations and guests trying to change the dates of their reservations and then canceling. I have told one particular guest twice through email that we cannot approve a refund. So he calls and continuously bemoans me over the fact that he cannot get a refund. How horrible it would be to have to write a bad review. That we need to look out for customers if we want to keep them. That the flight cancellation wasn't his fault. Like, I agree, but this is what I was told to do. I wish prepaid non-refundable rates never existed. It causes more headaches and angst from guests than it's worth. I also want to go home and celebrate Christmas with my family. Any other hospitality workers experiencing this today? If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.